Really good.
How are the responses thus far?
Really, really good. 90% really, really good. Trying to think. Rock Hard Magazine, as usual, doesn't like anything. They gave us a 7, though, so 7's not bad.
Okay.
And then some of the reviews, like Deaf Forever, was an 8, but it read like a 9. It was like a really, really good review, you know?
Yeah, I hear you and I see you. There we go.
I can see you. I can see all of you now.
Okay, I can only see you guys, which is fine. I don't need to see myself.
You can follow audio.
You have to click on your name. You see a name in the picture
No, but it's okay. I don't need
on the
to look
lower
at
left-hand side.
I don't need to look at myself. I just see whoever's talking now, which is fine. So we're all pressed for time, so we can start.
Yeah, let's do this. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Dan and me cooked up just a few minutes before you joined, Johnny. Well, thanks for the two of you making the time to talk about visioning. We just talked briefly about Ask Dan, how the responses are so far, according to Dan, positive throughout the board.
Yeah.
I was amazed by the album. I think it's a very, congratulations on a very versatile album. I think I've discovered various styles in there, from the more doomy, gloomy side to probably more alternative, modern sounds, and then obviously your choice of vocalists have added to the whole mix. So, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about how this all came to fruition.
Really, it starts with Dan coming up with the riffs. He sends it to me, and then we decide. We talk about who we're going to get to play the other parts.
Okay.
But that's how it goes. Dan is constantly sending me songs, and then I put drums to them, and then we discuss who we think would be the right person, whatever, to sing or play bass, and then Dan has access to other people, like for doing like string parts and stuff like that.
Okay. But is it sometimes that you probably is more a question for Dan, 70%, but you probably sometimes have someone really concrete in mind, and does it happen that that person's not available and you sort of have to?
That really hasn't happened too often.
No,
it hasn't happened too much.
The only person vocally that we asked that couldn't do it because he was too busy was Mark Tanillo. I've always loved TT Quick. I was a big TT Quick fan, and my old band Hades used to play a ton of shows with TT Quick in the early 80s. And I always thought Mark kind of hated me. And then I saw when he joined Accept, on his special thanks, he had like a short list of special thanks, and somehow I was on there.
Oh, wow.
And it was this, I was like really surprised. A few albums in a row, I'm like, I didn't even know Mark remembered who I was, And then we do every now and then, like usually once a year, there was this benefit show in New Jersey where I would sing with Blitz and Bobby Blitz's All Stars or whatever, and Mark Tanillo would be the other guest celebrity vocalist. So we always bumped into each other then. And
that was for Turbo.
Yeah, for Turbo, yeah. And Mark's always been super sweet to me. I mean, like, it's just funny, like how far away, literally we met in 1982, and I was like the straight guy who didn't drink, I didn't dabble in anything wacky, and they stole one of my best friend roadies who was straight like me, and then he got converted to the other side, so we had a little falling out, and then we regained our friendship. But the only other person who I think we asked who said no was Rex Brown from Pantera. I said, how much money would it cost you to play bass on a track on Visioning? And what he texted was, I would do it for free, but contractually, I'm not supposed to do it. So that was pretty much, I think, the only other person who said no.
Oh wow. Okay, so
Yeah, there hasn't been too many. There hasn't been too many people.
So definitely, it's a logistical act that just flows, and I mean, you managed to get one of my favorite vocalists, Carl Thomas, definitely, and I love stuff that Jason McMaster does, and yeah, who else have you got? You got Mark Sunshine from Riot Guard, Unida, Carl Agile, ex-COC.
Yeah.
Wow, Kelly Abel, Frankie Diaz, all contributing to the album.
We got DMC.
Yeah.
No, but
yeah, it's fun. You know, it's fun, and it gives us the opportunity. I know for me, it gives me the opportunity to work with people that I normally wouldn't get the chance to. Absolutely. You know, because like I've just been playing in bands, and the bands have their set group of people, and there usually isn't any outside people coming in, not too often, and whatever, doing a session, or this is more about having fun. I mean, obviously there isn't a lot of money. There isn't any money in it. So it's more about having fun and getting the opportunity to play with some, different people.
Yeah. And
and seeing what they bring to the table, because everybody's unique in their own way. It's cool that they're able to, they bring something unique. And at the same time, it feels like with this record, it feels more like a record instead of different songs put together where it sounds like a project or a compilation record. Yes. This seems more like a record, and there's a number of people that are a number of different unique colors.
Yeah, it doesn't give me that sort of feel like, you get some of these albums. I think it's more common in the sort of melodic speed metal kind of thing where they have, I think Arjen Lucassen is an example where he just gets all these really singers and it's a concept.
Right,
yeah. And Anneke van Giersbergen does the female vocalist, and it's often very sort of stage play, sort of almost and I don't get that feeling at all. It's more just you guys having fun, and every song has its texture and colors, and it's it just sounds like a lot of fun, definitely.
But it still has become something that sounds like Patriarchs in Black.
Yeah, I agree. Right.
It does have its own identity now.
Yeah.
And you mentioned
somehow that happened. Somehow that happened.
If I could mention that Kyle Thomas, you said he's one of your favorite vocalists, and I really didn't know Exorder growing up, and he didn't know Hades, apparently. And I heard him sing for Trouble in Alabama Thunder Pussy, and I reached out to him on Instagram, which is so great about, everybody complains about social media, but I've never met Kyle Thomas in my life. I sent him a DM. I said, hey, man, would you want to sing a song with me and the drummer from Typo Negative? Maybe that's the big selling point, But, and he writes back, sure. So then he does it, and I'm like, this is crazy. And then we've been having these really, really nice texting conversations. And just a couple days ago, he texted me, hey, Dan, it's long overdue. We have our first talk. Let's have a chat soon. I'm like, definitely. It's just funny, these people who, I feel like I had my own separate life, with Hades. And then there's a very similar scene going on in New Orleans with Exorder that I really honestly wasn't aware of, So it's really been, for me, it's been a lot of fun working with this. You don't even know what's going to happen with the next album, who's going to sing. There's nothing set in stone. It just happens as it happens, Yeah,
because, you just mentioned the technology. It wouldn't have been decades ago. It wouldn't have been possible. Either you meet, either you bump into each other somewhere in the scene, or you're in the same area and you happen to jam, and that's it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened, really,
Johnny and I probably grew up 30 miles away from each other, never jammed with each other, never hung out, never really, I don't think we bumped into each other a lot. And now he moves to Texas, and now we're, starting to record our fourth album for Patriarchs in Black in 3 years,
Wow.
Possibly fifth. He keeps on sending me stuff.
So you're just the riff machine.
Well, I'm
He
also,
really is. I have to hand it to him for that. He's never short on on stuff. Like all the time. Like in every week, there's new emails, and with new songs in it.
But how between the two of you, how far do you take it before you take it further? I mean, are there lyrical concepts? Do you take your phone and hum a vocal melody? Do you do a scratch track? I don't know.
Yeah, I have. So I wrote on the first album, I wrote This Damn War and Sing for the Devil. And then the next record, I wrote the title track, My Veneration and Crooked Smile. And then on this record, I only wrote Whiskey on My Mind. But generally, I tell the singers, like, I love writing melody lines. I'm not the best lyricist in the world, but I always hear melody lines. So, but I go to the singer, I'm like, look, I have something, usually, but do you want to write your own? And the singer's always right, like, yeah, I want to do my own. Except for actually John Costco told me he was too busy, so he was happy when I wrote stuff for him. But like the song I wrote last night, I have what I think is a great melody line and some starter lyrics. But if the singers prefer to do their own thing, then they usually do a better performance if they're the ones writing it.
Yeah. It's possibly if they do their own thing, the delivery will also possibly be better, because they just do it in their feel.
Well, yeah, they're going to do something that feels more natural to them. They're, more in their comfort zone.
Yeah, other than just following it. So
you have a song for the next record. It's going to be. I have lyrics and melody, and I gave the song to Carl Legel, and he just told me Monday, okay, I'm home. I did some shows. I'm on it. But I kind of really hope he's like, oh, could you show me the lyrics and melody line you have? Because I'm so confident in this one. But yeah, the singers almost always prefer to write their own lyrics and melody. And for what Johnny said, it's more in their comfort zone. It's easier for them to do it. It's like me showing Johnny what I think he should play on drums. It would be like ridiculous, like he knows what he should play on drums,
Yeah, but it's probably a case where Johnny throws you a drum line and you at first a little bit taken aback, but then when you let it sing for a day, this is
that happens with Dan quite a bit.
Yeah, and it happened with Kyle Thomas, and the song "Empty Cup" has become my favorite song, and one of my favorite songs in the record. But when he sent it to me, I'm like, oh yeah, it's great, and I really didn't like it. And then I listened to it again, I'm like, it's okay. And then I listened to it the third time. I'm like, it's starting to grow on me. And then the fourth time, it's like, so it's weird. Like you have stuff in your head, and sometimes Johnny will play something that I did not expect, and then sometimes he'll play things like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. So, you gotta be open-minded. Sometimes the things you aren't expecting, it throws you back, and it kind of makes you, I don't want to say sad, but it catches you off guard. So you just gotta listen to it again, a couple times before you say, no, that's not right, But that's really never happened.
That's happened a lot with when I send him drum tracks. He's like, I really wasn't thinking like
that. But it's okay. It's okay if sometimes it's better than what I ever would have thought.
Yeah.
And also like, it's not like I just I don't sit there and dig my heels in and stuff. I send him what I naturally, feel or hear in my head. And then I send it to him, and then he'll, if he'll have comments. I'm looking for, feedback from it, to see if I'm, on the right path with the song. It's like, not really just say whatever, taking liberties or, just doing my own thing and not really caring. I'm trying to do what I think is right for the song.
And 9 out of 10 times, I feel like the first thing Johnny sends me, I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. Like, why would you change this? And he's like, oh, I made a couple mistakes here. I got to improve this. And, but I love everything he's recorded. The final recording, everything's been perfect. And his drum sounds are getting better and better. And for the next record, which is crazy to talk about, but our fourth record, his drum sounds are even better than they were on the first three. So I think that'll add another layer.
So, but
during the pandemic, I started taking an interest in recording live drums. For years I worked with MIDI and like playing on electronic kits and things like that. And then it was when everybody was stuck home, not being able to go anywhere. All my touring got canceled. There was there's no work, there's no nothing. It was just sitting home for a long time. I was like, let me try to, dabble into this stuff. And then, each, like I took a, like Patriarchs in Black as an opportunity to use as a vehicle to learn how to, track live drums, like, as far as like recording them and stuff. And I'm like, determined to do it like, as cheap as possible.
Yeah.
So I got like, I got some, I got some, preamps, as time has gone on, time has moved on. Like, I've improved like, some of my equipment and stuff. And, each, with each song, when I do my editing and my mixing and, stuff like that, I'm learning, different things. People go to school for years and like, people do this, they have experience for years in this. And I like, just jumped in. Like all the years of like, making records with Typo and stuff like that, I didn't care at all about any of this stuff. You don't want to know what goes into a sausage. I didn't care about recording, like anytime I had to be at the studio, I was falling asleep on the floor because I always found it incredibly boring. Like it didn't really have an interest to me. I always like, the spontaneity of like, live performance and, that arena of playing and making music and stuff. And so with this, I took the opportunity. I was like, I want to learn how to do it and stuff. And now it's become something that I actually enjoy doing.
Yeah, and it's becoming
something learning something new later in my life. It's like so now it's it's fun. I get in the room and I work out like the same way I did like with MIDI, but now it's like there's like a lot of like the little nuances and dynamics that are hard to recreate when you're working with electronics, like you're working with samplers and things like that. It takes a lot of work, a lot of like clicking of a mouse and doing stuff just to get a couple of ghost notes on a snare. So that was like what motivated me to learn how to do this better. And then whatever, coming up with like say like a different kind of drum sound for a particular song or something like that, and learning different tips. I spend a lot of time on YouTube now, like researching.
But it's turning
and
now it's an asset for you guys. Now it's an asset. You can actually the way I understand, you have your own room. You can go in there and take your time and.
Yeah, that's cool too. Also, it is a little bit of a challenge because it's just me in a room, so it's like it's not like I have an engineer to like work off of, or like like another set of ears or something that I'm going back and forth. So it's like I put something together and then I send it to Dan and I get his feedback from it or whatever, and then I go back again. Like I'm once we're done with this interview, I'm getting in the car and I'm going down to the studio. Because I sent him something last night, and it was like, what do you think of this direction or whatever? Now I'll go back today, work on it again. And, so it's been fun, putting a lot of miles on my car because my studio is pretty far from my house.
So you're gonna have
to
get a cellar or something like that.
I built a studio in my yard and I got to record like 1 or 2 songs and then the police came.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not because of the drums, but because what he was doing in the studio, actually.
Yeah. The neighbors were like, "Oh, it's it's not so bad that it's playing drums, but he sounds awful." I'm offended that his playing is so poor. I can't deal with it.
But you also you hooked up at home, Dan, as well with recording, and then you just basically you track all your stuff at home, or do you also go to a studio?
No, I go to the recording studio. This guy J-Rod in Pomona. I was there last night working on a song I wrote Sunday night while my wife was watching football. And tonight I'm going back. I hired an opera singer that I play basketball with. I'm going to try. I have this thing in my head where there's going to be opera song. I don't want to say it's a speed metal song. It's an up-tempo song. And I hear everything.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. Like the perfect example is the beginning of the album starts off with Entry on the viola, right? And I heard that melody in my head. I was really excited about it. And I went upstairs and I figured it out on guitar. And I'm like, this sucks. why would I even think this stupid melody line in my head? And then I'm like, maybe, and then I kept hearing the melody line. I'm like, go away, you know, but, and then I had the guy play it on the viola, and it's beautiful. So on Sunday, my wife was watching football, and I hummed something in my head that I thought was like really cool. And I went upstairs and I played the notes, and I'm like, it's not that good. But then I had to figure out there was chord voicings that were, I don't want to say the chord voicings were in my head, but I knew something was there. And I don't know, just I was recording. I recorded it last night. There's all these different guitar parts. But anyway, getting back to the opera, you know, it could be horrible and embarrassing and corny and sound like a Broadway show tune. But why not try it? You know, we're gonna spend an hour in the studio tonight with a buddy of mine singing opera. It might be a disaster. It might be really cool. We shall see. But there's no reason why I can't try it. You know.
No, absolutely. So yeah, just to get back to, are there any plans? Pardon my ignorance. Have you done this on stage? Are there plans to do it on stage?
It's too many people.
No, I mean, you have had. There are cases where just one singer will take it all. You know, obviously.
You know, Sunshine wants to do a show. Carla Gell wants to do a show. It's a great idea. But I wouldn't want to do it with just one singer. If we're going to do it, it would have to be like some kind of festival with Johnny's schedule with Quiet Riot works out, and we just somehow get a bunch of people over there. So if there was demand, it's not like we'd be against it, but we're not going to fly to, you know, Germany to lose $7,000 playing one show, you know?
Yeah.
The flights alone would crush it.
Yeah.
With an entourage.
Yeah, we need 15. You know, we need 15 flights.
Yeah, and we're bringing a sax player, and
yeah. We're bringing Frankie. Pretty sure Frankie doesn't have a passport.
No, he does not.
Well, we know Mark and Carl have them.
Yeah. He's talking about, did you hear, you know, the song Whiskey on My Mind? That's a blues man from Nyack, New Jersey. And he came in, and J-Rod, the studio guy, suggested him. I originally wanted Dewey Bragg to sing the song, and Dewey said he was too busy at the time. So I asked my engineer, I said, do you know any like older African-American blues singer? And he's like, no. And then he texted me like, oh, yeah, I do. This one guy. So I sent him a DM, no response. I called the phone number. He answered. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm like, you haven't even heard the song yet. He's like, send it to me. He's like, yeah, it's great. I'll do it. And I'm like, you didn't even have time to listen to the song yet. You know, like, does this guy know what I want? He walks in the studio. Literally, I sang it to him once in person, and he sang it in 5 minutes, and he was done. I handed him $100. He was out the door. And never saw him again. But we're going to have him do something on the next record as well.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. But exciting, man.
Yeah, it is. It's like sometimes, you know, things just like tonight, I'm so apprehensive about having an opera singer, and like maybe it's going to be so bad, and I'm going to tell him like, dude, this is corny. It was a dumb idea, but it just might work. So why not, you know? Yeah. So what's your favorite song on the record, by the way? What are your favorite songs?
I'm with Kyle.
Okay. Yeah, Empty Cup's a great one.
That's really a cool one. I must admit, much to my embarrassment, there is another one. I don't have the title in my head now, but it's a very gloomy, very somber, melancholic one. Maybe you can help me on that one.
That's called, the whole album is supposed to be like that, pretty much. Narrow it down just a little bit.
No, but there's one in particular that really I thought was I love melancholic chords. I love those kind of, you know.
Before I Go has Carla Gell singing. The title track Veneration is Sunshine singing. But yeah, that for whatever reason, the majority of them are kind of melancholy and depressing and sad. And even though I'm a super happy guy, that's just what I lean towards musically for some reason.
So it's obviously in my DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come from you've got a history.
There's no getting away from it for me.
And you know, we grew up as Kiss fans, so how we ended up here, I don't know.
Yeah,
not
really known for melancholy, huh?
No, but Johnny and I have a lot of the same roots, man. It's like, you know, I always tell people my biggest influence is Kiss, and then secondary would be Aerosmith and AC/DC, Bon Scott, AC/DC. But I generally don't write like that for whatever. It's interesting how music is. It's so interesting, you know.
It's a jovial band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, for me too, growing up, it's like a classic rock fan,
Yeah.
you know, Zeppelin, Sabbath, AC. I love AC/DC. I love old Aerosmith and even stuff like Leonard Skinner and Humble Pie, Grand Funk Railroad. So a lot of that. And then, as a teenager, I rebelled against all that. And that's when I found, things like Accept and Saxon and Motley Crue, Judas Priest, and then moved on and then went back to it, went back to the classic rock stuff.
And Johnny's quote for the first album was "All roads lead to Black Sabbath," which is,
it's true. That's the template for all this stuff.
Yeah.
It is.
Like anything, pretty much any band with distortion at this point.
Yeah, it's just amazing how many genres Sabbath sort of originated in over the course of 4 albums. It's just really crazy.
And it's it is. It's just like heavier blues based rock and roll.
Definitely.
There was a lot of like boogie and swing in a lot of this stuff, so then whatever, after discovering Black Sabbath and then going on, finding different things. And then you see, you hear stuff like the first Cactus record, that's a lot of that has a very heavy Sabbath like vibe to it, but it's more rock and roll.
Yeah.
So a lot of the DNA is all it all comes from the same DNA, like that blues based rock and roll.
It's amazing.
Then,
also,
later on, I got into other stuff I'm starting to go back and listen to Howlin' Wolf and it's stuff like Little Richard and things like that.
Oh.
And I'm a huge Motown fan.
Oh, you know what? You want us to give you an exclusive? Because I know we're both getting short on time. I got to leave in a couple minutes, but Johnny's idea was to cover the Peter Gabriel song. What is it called? Games Without Frontiers, Johnny?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And we're
Peter.
releasing a cover of Peter Gabriel, Games Without Frontiers, on Patriarchs in Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving in America, with Mark Sunshine and Johnny's buddy Sal on bass.
Yeah, Sal Ivera playing bass on it.
Nice.
Who I used to play with, years ago. I played in a band with Sal and my uncle. My uncle's a guitar player and a singer, and they were much. I learned a lot from playing with those guys because they were like real musicians, and I was just I was the kid that hit things.
And there's another guy I never met. I never met Sal in person. Just had some email communication, and he's playing bass on the Peter Gabriel song, which is out the end of November, which nobody knows about yet. So you got a scoop right there.
Everybody.
Actually, this song came out pretty cool too.
Came out really cool. Yeah.
Pretty interesting. Yeah.
So you heard it. Keep your eye.
I love doing different things with covers. We did all kinds of different covers, like with Typo Negative and stuff, and always had fun with them. Sometimes you kind of stick to the original thing, and then other times it's cool to see the way Typo always approached covers was a song would get chosen, and then it would be like, what would this song sound like had we written?
Yeah.
So that's there's always been an interesting twist of some sort, or something a little different instead of just going the traditional just cover the song.
Give it the type.
And Sunshine has this ability to to turn anything that we're covering, he makes it his own.
Definitely.
Which is cool, so he'll do something we've covered stuff from Zeppelin and Queen, and now we're, doing something Peter Gabriel, you know, and but the covers that we do have been a lot of fun. You know, it is. It's a lot of fun. It's really, that's all it is. It's fun.
Guys, you apparently have to run. I'm just going to close off with a question very quickly. The visioning. What's behind is there something behind the cover?
Yeah, so it's actually called visioning. And what I had read, and I believe in this, I believe in the afterlife, and I've heard of people who experienced it. Visioning, there's a couple different definitions, but the one that I am using for for Patriarchs in Black was, when you're on your deathbed, many people, when they're in hospice, they see people from their past, whether it be relatives or people who were influential on them in the past. And, you know, who's to say if they're really seeing it, or if their brain's running out of oxygen, or they're hallucinating. But I like to think that it's really people, you know, bringing them to the other journey, which I think I thought of the album title for the next album. But, yeah, so that's what it means to me. It's just a visioning of people like from your past bringing you to the other side.
Awesome.
And there you have it.
Yeah, I'm always interested in artwork and the meaning and whatever's behind it.
Well, it was great talking to you again.
Yeah, guys, thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
I'll send you the link.
Appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
I'm aiming for Friday.
All right.
All right, guys.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy.
I'm getting dressed. I have to get out of here.
See you.
All right, I'll talk to you guys. Bye.
Cheers.